Hello and welcome to Calm Mind, a place where thoughts are allowed to slow down. You don't need to make anything happen or arrive anywhere. Right now, your only invitation is to be here. Just this. Just you. Just resting. Let your shoulders soften. Let your jaw release. Allow your eyelids to grow heavy in their own time. No rush. Let's close the door on the day together and begin. I want to tell you something right at the start. Something that might actually change this whole night for you. You don't need to understand any of this to rest. Not a single word. Not a single concept. Not a single idea I share tonight needs to land clearly, make sense, or be remembered. You're allowed to let it all drift past you like sounds from another room. Warm, distant, meant for someone else to follow. I know you might be lying there right now with your mind still going, replaying something from earlier today. Planning tomorrow, turning something over and over that has no resolution at this hour anyway. And part of you might be waiting for the moment this meditation kicks in, waiting for the technique, for the instruction that finally works. For the magic thing that makes the thoughts stop and sleep arrive. If these gentle journeys are meaningful to you, I invite you to like, subscribe, or share a reflection below. It helps other restless minds find their way here. But for now, your only task is to relax. I want to gently release you from all of that waiting. Because here's something I really want you to hear. Your body doesn't need your mind to cooperate in order to rest. Your nervous system doesn't need your full attention to begin settling. Your breath doesn't need to be managed tonight. It's already breathing you, right now, whether your mind is with it or not. You don't have to follow along. You don't have to retain anything. You're allowed to let this voice be just a sound, like rain, like distant traffic, like the particular silence of a house at night. Let me share something with you about why it can feel so important to follow along, to get it, to make sure you're doing this right. Your mind is very good at its job. Maybe too good, sometimes. It's been trained, through school, through work, through years of needing to perform and produce, to stay alert, to track, to process, to not miss anything. And so when you lie down and put something on, a meditation, a podcast, even music, part of your mind treats it like a task. Listening becomes something to do correctly. Rest becomes something to achieve. Maybe you've caught yourself grading your own meditations. That one worked. That one didn't. I wasn't focused enough. I fell asleep too early. I fell asleep too late. I kept thinking. I want you to know, I understand exactly how that feels. That particular exhaustion of trying so hard to rest well, of making rest into work. And I want to offer you something different tonight. Permission, real, genuine permission, to let understanding go, to let comprehension be optional, to let this be something that simply happens near you, around you, while you drift wherever you drift. Here's something that might surprise you, something neuroscientists have been discovering about the sleeping brain. Sleep doesn't require consciousness. It doesn't require your active participation. In fact, the moment you lose track of what's being said, the moment your mind wanders, the moment words stop meaning anything, that's not failure. That's the beginning of sleep. The brain's transition into sleep is actually a process of becoming less aware, not more. The cortex, the part that thinks, follows, analyzes, gradually goes quiet. The deeper structures take over. Your heart slows. Your muscles soften. Your breath deepens. And none of that requires you to understand anything at all. So tonight, the goal isn't to stay with me. The goal isn't to remember where we are in the journey or to follow every thread of thought I offer. The goal, if you can even call it that, is simply to be here, however here feels for you right now. The philosopher Alan Watts once wrote, "You are under no obligation to be the same person you were 5 minutes ago." Tonight I'd like to offer a variation. You are under no obligation to understand what's happening right now. You're allowed to be the person who simply rests. While your mind has been listening, and even if it's already wandering, your body has been quietly doing what bodies do at night. Your shoulders, if you notice them now, have probably already let go of a little of what they were holding today. Not completely, but a little. They're softer than they were when you lay down. Your jaw, that place where so many of us hold the shape of the day's conversations, the unsaid things, the clenched back words, it's allowed to be a little heavier now. Let it soften toward the pillow, or wherever it rests. Your eyes, even behind closed lids, eyes can hold tension, a kind of looking, a kind of searching. You can let that soften too. not trying to see anything, not searching for the right experience, just resting behind closed lids in the dark. And your hands, however they're resting right now, they can be a little more open, not forced open, just allowed to release their grip on the day, on the to-do list, on the thing that still needs solving, just for tonight. Your body is already beginning. It doesn't need your mind to come along. It's been doing this every night of your life, even on the nights you thought you weren't sleeping, even on the nights the mind ran wild. The body finds its way. Tonight is for you. Not for your mind to perform well, not for you to have some impressive meditation experience to report back on tomorrow, not to wake up having solved anything. Tonight is simply for your body to rest, for your nervous system to have a few hours of quiet, for you to set down every single thing you've been carrying, the worries, the plans, the half-finished thoughts, and let them wait outside the door while you sleep. They'll still be there in the morning, if you need them. You don't have to solve them to be allowed to rest. And I'll be here, through the whole night. Whether you're awake or asleep, whether you're following every word or not following at all, whether this is working the way you hoped or feels like nothing is happening, I'll be here. You don't have to understand this to rest. You just have to be here. Let's sit with something together for a while, something you might recognize. There's a particular kind of tired that doesn't come from doing too much. It comes from monitoring too much. From tracking, from checking, from the constant inner question, am I doing this right? You might not even notice it anymore. It's become so ordinary, but it's there, isn't it? That low-level vigilance. The part of you that's always watching, always assessing, always making sure. Am I being a good enough parent? A good enough partner? A good enough worker? Friend? Person? Am I responding well enough? Thinking clearly enough? Showing up fully enough? And now, at night, even here, am I resting well enough? Am I doing this meditation correctly? If I fall asleep too early, did I miss something important? If I'm still awake, does that mean it isn't working? I see you in this. I really do. The exhaustion of constantly checking whether you're doing enough, being enough, understanding enough. And I want to say something that I mean completely. You can put that down tonight. This need to track, to understand, to make sure, it didn't arrive from nowhere. From a very young age, most of us learned that understanding equals safety. If you understood the rules, you were okay. If you paid attention in class, you passed. If you listened carefully to what people wanted, you could give it to them and be accepted. Understanding was how you navigated the world, how you stayed out of trouble, how you made people pleased with you. And that skill, that vigilant, careful, always listening skill, it served you. It really did. It helped you learn, grow, stay safe, succeed in so many ways. But it never learned when to turn off. It kept going into adulthood, into relationships, into work, and now into your bed at 11 o'clock at night. It's still going, still listening, still tracking, still asking, am I getting this? The psychologist Tara Brach calls this the trance of unworthiness, the constant background feeling that we're not quite doing it right, not quite enough, not quite okay. It runs so deep most of us don't even notice it's there. We just feel its weight. You might be feeling it right now, actually. The slight tension of wondering if this is working. The quiet checking. That's okay. It doesn't mean anything is wrong. It just means you're human, and you've been taught to try. Tonight, very gently, we're beginning to unlearn the trying. Here's something worth sitting with. Understanding is remarkable. It's one of the most extraordinary things human minds do. But there are some things it simply cannot reach. Understanding cannot make you fall asleep faster. You can understand every single thing about sleep architecture, about circadian rhythms, about the stages of rest, and still lie awake, because knowing about sleep is not the same as sleeping. Understanding cannot make your body relax on command. You can fully comprehend that you're safe, that there's no threat, that the day is over, and your nervous system may still be running, because it operates on its own timeline, independent of your reasoning mind. Understanding cannot love you, cannot hold you, cannot give you the particular comfort of simply being witnessed, without any requirement to perform or produce. These things, rest, release, comfort, the slow settling of a nervous system that has worked hard all day. They happen beneath the level of understanding. They belong to a deeper part of you, a part that doesn't need to know why. Research from sleep science consistently shows that sleep onset is actually inhibited by cognitive effort, by trying, analyzing, problem-solving. The brain scans of people falling asleep show a progressive quieting of the prefrontal cortex, that analytical, understanding-seeking, always processing part of you. In other words, the mind that wants to understand everything is the last thing to go offline before sleep. And it has to go offline for sleep to arrive. So paradoxically, the more you release the need to understand what's happening, the more you're actually cooperating with sleep. Not understanding is not a failure here. Not understanding is the path. I want to offer you something right now. Not a technique. Not something to do correctly. Just an image. Imagine your mind like a boat on still water at night. The boat doesn't have to work. It doesn't have to navigate. It doesn't have to know where the shore is or what's beneath the surface or how deep the water goes. It just floats, held by water it can't see, in darkness it can't analyze, moving gently with currents it doesn't understand and doesn't need to. That's what tonight is. Your mind, floating, held by something older and deeper than thinking, moving in gentle currents that don't require your participation. You don't need to steer. You don't need to keep watch. You can let the water hold you. If thoughts come, and they will, they're just small waves. They rock the boat gently. They pass. The water remains. You don't need to understand the water to be held by it. I want to give you something explicitly, because sometimes we need to hear it said out loud. You have permission to not understand this tonight. You have permission to lose track, to drift, to find yourself 3 thoughts away from where you started and not know how you got there. You have permission to fall asleep in the middle of a sentence I'm speaking, right there, mid-thought, without waiting for a natural ending point. You have permission to hear words without meaning, to let language become texture, become rhythm, become something more like sound than sense. You have permission to not remember any of this in the morning. You have permission to have this feel like nothing happened, and still have rested. Because sometimes the nights we think were restless were actually filled with more sleep than we knew. And sometimes the nights we remember least are the ones where we finally, quietly, let go. So let go. Or let yourself not yet let go. Either is fine. Either is allowed. I want to pause here and really look at you for a moment. Not the idea of you. You. The actual person lying there right now. I see the weight you're carrying tonight. I really do. Maybe right now you're worried about someone you love. A child who's struggling. A parent who's aging. A partner who's distant. A friend who needs you but you don't know how to help. Maybe you're carrying financial stress, the quiet panic of not knowing if there's enough, the calculations you run in the background of every day, the decisions you're postponing because you can't afford to make them yet. Maybe it's work, the pressure of deadlines, the fear that you're not actually good enough and someday everyone will realize. The exhaustion of showing up day after day for something that doesn't nourish you. Maybe it's your body, pain you've learned to live with, illness that won't resolve. The slow grief of aging, of things not working the way they used to. Maybe it's loneliness, the particular ache of being surrounded by people but still feeling fundamentally alone, of wondering if anyone really sees you, if anyone would notice if you just stop trying so hard. I don't know which of these is yours. Maybe it's all of them. Maybe it's something I haven't named. But I know you're carrying something. And I know it's heavy. And I know, I really know, how exhausting it is to be the strong one, to be the one people lean on, to show up with a smile when you're breaking, to hold it together because if you don't, who will? There's a particular kind of tired that comes from never letting anyone see how hard it really is. From keeping the strain off your face, from making it look easy when it's anything but. You've been doing that, haven't you? Being strong, being capable, being the one who has it together. And maybe no one knows. Maybe everyone thinks you're fine. Maybe you've been so good at this performance that even the people closest to you don't realize how much you're holding. I want to tell you something, and I want you to really hear it. You don't have to carry all of this alone tonight. Not forever. I'm not saying the weight disappears. I'm not offering false comfort that everything will be okay. But tonight, just tonight, you can set some of it down. You don't have to figure out how to help the person you're worried about. You don't have to solve the financial problem. You don't have to know how to fix your work situation or your body or your loneliness. Tonight, you can just be tired. You can be the person who doesn't have answers, who doesn't have strength left, who is, quite simply, at the end of a very long day and needs to rest. That's not giving up. That's not weakness. That's being human. That's being real about what you actually have capacity for right now. And what you have capacity for right now is this: lying here, breathing, letting the weight be heavy instead of pretending it's light. You've held it all day. You can set it down for a few hours. I'm here with you in this. You're not holding it alone right now. Even if it feels like you are. Even if you can't feel anything but the weight. I see you under all of it. The person who's tired. The person who's doing their best. The person who has carried so much for so long and just needs someone to say, I know, I see. You're allowed to be exhausted. So be exhausted. Let yourself be exactly as tired as you actually are. The weight will still be there tomorrow, but tonight, you don't have to be strong. You don't have to have answers. You don't have to carry anything at all. Just rest. Just be held by the dark, by the quiet, by this moment that asks nothing of you except that you're here. Something is settling in the room now. Something quieter. There's a part of your mind that never got the memo that the day is over. It's the same part that kept you sharp during the hard years. The years when you needed to be ready, available, switched on. Maybe childhood, when home wasn't entirely safe and you learned to read the room. Maybe a job that demanded constant alertness. Maybe a relationship, or a loss, or a season of life that required you to hold everything together. At some point, the vigilance became part of you. It stopped being a response to a specific threat and became just how you are. The background hum. The always running program. And that program, that deeply loyal, genuinely protective part of you, it expresses itself at night as an inability to fully release. as the mind that keeps reviewing, as the thought that arrives just as you're drifting. Wait, did I remember to? I want you to know that part of you was doing its job. It still is. It loves you in its strange, exhausting way. It's trying to keep you safe and prepared and on top of everything. Tonight, very gently, you can tell it, I know. I hear you. You can rest now. Nothing needs watching tonight. It might not believe you immediately. That's okay. You don't need it to. You can just say it softly, internally, like a hand on the shoulder of something that has worked very, very hard. Let me share something with you, something I think a lot of people carry without quite naming it. Many of us grew up in environments, families, schools, cultures that tied rest to accomplishment. Rest was what you got after you finished, after you performed, after you proved your value. You might have heard it explicitly, you can rest when the work is done. Or you might have absorbed it in subtler ways. The subtle disapproval when you sat still, the unspoken praise for the one who pushed hardest, the feeling that relaxing too much meant you weren't serious enough, weren't working hard enough, weren't enough. And so rest became conditional, something to receive, not something you had a right to, something to earn. But here's what I want to offer you, something simple and profound. Your body doesn't operate on that system. Your nervous system doesn't wait for you to earn its permission to release. It will release if you give it the conditions. Rest doesn't care whether you've done enough today. It arrives for the tired and the hardworking and the struggling and the ones who feel they haven't done enough, equally. The Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius wrote in his private journal, in notes he never intended to be published, "Nowhere can a man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul. Not in achievement, not in understanding, in the soul itself, in simply being." You don't need to have earned tonight's rest. You don't need to have understood enough or done enough or been enough. You're here. That's all rest requires. I want to invite you into something slightly different now. Instead of trying to stay with my words, instead of tracking the thread of what I'm saying, what if you simply let the words be sound? Not language, not meaning, not information to process and retain. Just sound. The way rain is sound. The way a ceiling fan is sound. something that fills the air around you without requiring anything in return. If you find yourself drifting into a thought, some half-formed image or memory or plan for tomorrow, that's perfect. That's not you failing to meditate. That's your mind doing what resting minds do, wandering loosely, untethered from the necessity of the day. Neuroscientists call this default mode activity. It's what the brain does when the task-focused part of it is released. It drifts. It makes connections. It wanders through memory and imagination without agenda. This wandering isn't wasted. It's actually deeply valuable. It's part of how the brain processes the day, consolidates memory, releases what doesn't need to be held anymore. So if you just drifted for a moment and you're only now noticing you're back here, welcome back. Nothing was missed. The wandering was its own kind of rest. Your body is speaking a very quiet language right now. Not words, not ideas, just signals. The weight of your arms, the way your back settles against whatever is beneath you, the particular temperature of the air where your face meets it, the rhythm of breath, which has been there your entire life, constant and unconcerned with whether your mind was paying attention to it or not. This is ancient wisdom, if you want to call it that. Not mystical, just biological. Millions of years of evolution have built into your body the knowledge of how to rest, how to sleep, how to restore itself. That knowledge doesn't live in your thinking mind. It lives in your cells, in your brainstem, in the rhythm of your heart, in the slow, patient intelligence of a body that knows what it needs. You can trust that intelligence tonight. You don't need to supervise it. You don't need to understand it. You just need to stop overriding it with the anxious monitoring of a mind that thinks it should be helping more. The Zen teacher Shunryu Suzuki said, "In the beginner's mind there are many possibilities, but in the expert's mind there are few." Tonight, your body is the expert, not your mind. Allow the expert to work. Before we settle deeper, I want to invite you to release something specific. The internal report card. The one you've probably been filling in all day without realizing it. Marking yourself on every interaction, every task, every decision. Did well here. Could have done better there. Handled that gracefully. Handled that badly. And even now, at this hour, in the dark, still quietly marking, am I resting well? Is this meditation working? Have I been too tense? Should I be more relaxed by now? I want you to close that report card, just for tonight. Not because you failed anything, not because you passed, just because the evaluation period is over. There is no grade for tonight, no assessment of how well you slept or how successfully you released. No morning debrief where you have to report on what you understood. You're allowed to simply be a body in a bed, in the dark, in the quiet, letting time pass. Let me tell you what I see when I think about the person listening to this. I see someone who has spent most of their life trying to be the right version of themselves. The version that other people need. The version that doesn't make waves. The version that's helpful, pleasant, low maintenance, together. You've probably been so many versions. The good child, the reliable friend, the competent professional, the patient partner, the strong parent, the person who has it figured out. And here's what's exhausting about that. None of those versions gets to rest, because they're all performances. They all require management. They all need you to be monitoring constantly. Am I doing this right? Am I being who they need me to be? I wonder if you even know anymore who you are when no one is watching. Who you are when there's no role to play, no expectation to meet, no version of yourself you're maintaining. Maybe that sounds dramatic. Maybe you think you know who you are. But I want to invite you to really sit with this question. When was the last time you were completely unguarded? When was the last time you weren't subtly adjusting yourself to be more acceptable? Editing what you say, managing how you appear, performing competence or contentment or strength when what you actually felt was tired and confused and uncertain. I'm not judging that. We all do it. We have to survive in the world, to have relationships, to keep jobs, to not overwhelm the people we love with the full reality of our internal experience. But it's exhausting, isn't it? The constant translation, the perpetual adjustment, the endless self-management. And here's what I want to offer you tonight. You don't have to be any particular version of yourself here. You don't have to be the strong one, You don't have to be the positive one. You don't have to be the person who's handling it well or learning the lessons or growing from the challenges. Tonight, you can just be the tired version. The version that doesn't have wise perspectives. The version that's not sure they're doing anything right. The version that just wants someone to say, "You don't have to perform anymore today." I'm saying it. You don't have to perform anymore today. Not for me. Not for yourself. Not for the imagined audience of your own constant self-evaluation. You can let all those versions rest. The competent one, the strong one, the together one, they can all clock out. They've worked hard enough. What remains when all the performing stops? Just you. Just the tired human person who has been underneath all those roles your whole life. Just the consciousness that's been witnessing all of it, carrying all of it, managing all of it. That person, that real, unguarded, imperfect person, is who gets to rest tonight. Not the idealized version. Not the version you think you should be. Not even the version you're trying to become through all this self-improvement and meditation and effort. Just you, as you actually are, right now. Tired, maybe a little broken, definitely uncertain, possibly scared, probably doing way less well than you let on. That version is welcome here. That version is actually the only version that can truly rest. Because rest doesn't come to the performed self. It comes to the real one. And the real one is allowed to be tired, is allowed to not know, is allowed to be imperfect and struggling and just barely holding on. You don't have to be impressive to deserve rest. You don't have to have it together to be worthy of gentleness. You just have to be human, which you are. Which you've always been, underneath all the versions you've had to perform. So let the performing stop. Let the management stop. Let all the adjusting and editing and maintaining just stop. And be here as the person you are when nobody's watching. The person you are when there's nothing left to prove. That person is enough. That person has always been enough. Something softer is available now than was available an hour ago. You might notice, if you bring gentle attention to it, a kind of grip somewhere in your body. It might be in your forehead. A slight furrow, even with eyes closed, the shape of concentration, of trying to follow. It might be in your hands, loosely closed, or fingers slightly curled. The hands of someone who is holding something, even now. It might be across your chest or your belly, a low-level bracing, like your body is expecting something to need managing, like it's not quite convinced the day is done. This is the physical signature of the thinking mind that won't quite let go. The body's version of, but wait, let me just think through this one more time. I'm not asking you to force that grip open. Force never works here. Forcing yourself to relax is just another kind of grip. But you might just notice it, gently, the way you'd notice a fist you've been clenching for so long you forgot you were clenching it. And in noticing, you might find that some of it, just a little, begins to soften on its own. There's a beautiful concept in Japanese Zen called shoshin, beginner's mind. The state of approaching experience with openness and lack of preconception. It's not ignorance. It's not pretending you don't know things. It's something subtler. The ability to meet each moment as if for the first time, without the overlay of all your previous experiences, judgments, and expectations. Right now, you could apply this to your own experience of lying here. What if you didn't know whether you were resting well or poorly? What if you let go of any assessment of how this is going? What if this moment, whatever it is, however it feels, was simply allowed to be the first moment of its kind? Not a repetition of every other night you've struggled to sleep. Not a data point in the ongoing story of your relationship with rest. Just this moment, new, unknown, without judgment. You might notice something shift in that. Not dramatically, but something. Because so much of what makes lying awake painful isn't the wakefulness itself. It's the story about the wakefulness. This always happens. I'll be exhausted tomorrow. I can't turn my mind off. Something must be wrong. Without the story, what's actually here? Just a person. In a bed. In the dark. Breathing. Not asleep yet. That's all. That's actually quite manageable. Let me tell you something about the breath, because I think it might be one of the most restful things you hear tonight. Your breath has been happening without you for your entire life. during surgeries, during deep unconscious sleep, during the years before you were old enough to know you had a breath to manage. It breathes you, not the other way around. And tonight, you can let that be completely true. You don't need to breathe deeply. You don't need to count. You don't need to slow it down or make it more peaceful or do anything with it at all. Just notice, if you like, that it's already happening. Right now, as I say this, the gentle rise and fall, the soft automatic motion of something that doesn't need your oversight. This is the kind of trust that sleep asks of you, not trust in something large or abstract. Just this, trusting that breath will breathe, that the body knows its rhythms, that not everything requires your supervision. Research on sleep shows that hyperventilation and overbreathing are common in insomnia, not because people are anxious about breathing, but because they're monitoring it. The act of careful attention to breath changes it, makes it more effortful. Simply allowing it, noticing it without managing it, is paradoxically the most restful thing. So just let it happen. You don't need to understand your breath. It understands you. I want to invite something very gentle now. Just for a moment, stop trying to follow what I'm saying. Really, let the words drift past. Let them be sound without meaning, rhythm without content. Not forever. Just for a few moments. And notice what remains. There's still something here, isn't there? Something that doesn't depend on understanding to be present. The weight of your body, the warmth of the bedding, the faint sounds of wherever you are, a settling house, a distant street, the particular silence of your room. You, the you that exists beneath all the tracking and understanding, are still here, resting in the simple fact of existing. Not needing to know anything to be real. That's the you that gets to rest tonight. Not the analyzing you. Not the tracking you. This one. The one who's here even when the mind goes quiet. The day has left traces in your body, not just tired muscles or heavy eyes, but the emotional and cognitive residue of all that happened. Every conversation, every decision, every moment where something was required of you and you gave it. Every small stress that seemed manageable at the time but accumulated. That residue doesn't need to be processed tonight. It doesn't need to be understood, sorted, filed away properly. Your sleeping brain will do its own work with it. That's one of the extraordinary things sleep does, consolidating memory, releasing what's unnecessary, filing what matters. You don't need to do that consciously. You don't need to review the day one more time, identify the lessons, plan the improvements. You can simply release it the way you'd release water from your hands, not trying to control where it goes, not needing to watch it drain away, just opening the hands and allowing. The day is done. Whatever happened, it happened. Whatever you understood or didn't understand, gave or couldn't give, achieved or left unfinished, it belongs to today now. And today is closing. The room is quieter now, or maybe it's the same, and you've grown quieter within it. There's something I want to offer you now that might feel a little strange at first. Not knowing can be a kind of freedom. When you know, when you understand something, when you've got it figured out, you're holding it. And holding takes effort. It requires you to keep it in place, to maintain it, to defend it if challenged. But not knowing is open hands. Not knowing is the room before the furniture arrives, spacious, full of possibility, not yet defined. Right now, you might not know if you're going to sleep soon. You might not know what tomorrow will bring. You might not know how to solve the thing that was on your mind when you lay down. What if, just for tonight, you didn't need to? What if not knowing those things could be restful instead of troubling? What if the not knowing was the space in which rest lives? The poet Keats had a phrase for this. He called it negative capability, the capacity to remain in uncertainty and doubt without an irritable reaching after fact and reason. He saw it as one of the highest human qualities. The ability to rest in the unknown. Tonight, you're allowed to have that quality, not as a permanent state, just for now, just for this night. Rest in the not knowing. Let it be spacious rather than frightening. Here's something worth sitting with. There is a part of you that already knows what you need tonight. Beneath all the questions and assessments and tracking, beneath the mind's need to understand and follow and get it right, your body knows. It knows warmth from cold, softness from hardness, It knows the particular relief of lying down after standing. It knows the specific comfort of the dark when you've been under lights all day. Your nervous system knows. It has a whole vocabulary of rest that predates language. The lowering of cortisol, the shift in heart rate, the release of melatonin as darkness deepens. It doesn't need instruction. It's been doing this since before humans were complex enough to worry about it. Your breath knows its rhythm. Your muscles know how to soften. Your eyelids know their weight. All of this knowing is already in you. Reliable, patient, not waiting for your understanding to catch up. It just needs you to step back a little, to let the thinking mind stop insisting it's in charge. Neuroscientist Matthew Walker describes sleep as one of the most sophisticated biological processes known to science, a precisely orchestrated set of events involving dozens of brain structures, hundreds of chemical processes, thousands of cellular changes. And it does all of this without you needing to understand a single step. Your body is extraordinary, and it doesn't need you to know that to work its magic tonight. I want to gently offer a different frame for tonight. What if this working meant simply that you're here? Not that you've slept deeply or deeply relaxed or had a profound experience. Just that you're here. In bed. In the dark. With your body doing its quiet work. What if this working meant that you gave yourself this time, unproductive, unoptimized, quiet time, instead of doing something else? Because even restless wakefulness in a quiet, dark room is better for your nervous system than screens and stimulation. Even drifting thoughts in the dark are part of the brain's restoration process. Even lying awake, wondering if you're sleeping, you're still resting, still giving your body the horizontal time and darkness it needs. So nothing is wasted tonight. Not the minutes you've spent wondering if you're doing this right. Not the moments you drifted away from this voice and then came back. Not the hours still ahead, whether you spend them sleeping or floating somewhere in that gentle middle territory between wakefulness and sleep. All of it is rest. All of it is exactly what tonight is for. I want to acknowledge something quietly. You're not alone in this. Right now, at this same hour, there are thousands of people lying awake in the dark around the world. Some of them worried, some of them restless, some of them, like you, hoping that something, a voice, a sound, a stillness, might help them finally rest. All of them are carrying their particular weight. All of them have had days they couldn't fully unpack. All of them have a part of their mind that doesn't easily release. And all of them, just like you, deserve rest, deserve gentleness, deserve a voice that says, "You don't have to do this perfectly. You just have to be here." There is something quietly companionable about the dark, when you let it be. The particular solidarity of a world that sleeps together, of all of us, in all our separate rooms, returning to the same ancient rhythms, breathing, releasing, drifting. You belong in that, not because you've earned it, just because you're here, and tonight is happening, and rest is available to you even now. Feel, if you can, the specific places where your body meets whatever is beneath it. The back of your head against the pillow, the weight of your shoulders, the particular pressure of your hips, your heels, or however you're lying now. These contact points are real, solid, true. In a night full of uncertain thoughts, these sensations are the simplest of facts. You are somewhere. Your body is held. The surface beneath you is real, and it is holding your weight without effort, without asking anything of you. You don't need to understand gravity to be held by it. You don't need to understand the physiology of sleep to be on the edge of it. You just need to be here, where you already are, letting the night do what nights do. I need to tell you something, and I need you to really let this in. If you can. You've done enough today. I know that might not feel true. I know there's probably a list in your head of things you didn't get to, things you should have done better, ways you fell short of what you hoped you'd accomplish. But I'm going to tell you what enough actually looks like, and I want you to notice if any of this is true for you. You woke up. That's something. You got out of bed on a day when maybe part of you didn't want to. You showed up to your life even though showing up is hard. You did work. Maybe. You completed tasks. You answered questions. You solved problems. Even if you felt like you were just going through the motions, you went through them. You cared for someone. Maybe. A child. A client, a customer, a pet, a plant, yourself. You gave attention to something living that needed you. You made decisions, dozens of them. What to eat, what to wear, what to say, what to prioritize. Some of them felt easy, many of them didn't, but you made them anyway. You held things together, even if it felt like barely holding, even if inside you were falling apart. On the outside, you functioned. You kept going. You were kind, probably, at least once, to someone else or to yourself, even when it was hard, even when you didn't feel like it. You survived difficult feelings, anxiety maybe, sadness, frustration, boredom, overwhelm, feelings that wanted to swallow you, and you didn't let them. You felt them and you kept going anyway. You read this far. You're here, right now, still trying, still hoping, still reaching for something that might help you rest. That's enough. All of that. Every single bit of it. That's enough. You don't have to have done it perfectly. You don't have to have achieved everything you hoped. You don't have to have been your best self or your strongest self or your most productive self. You just had to be the self that showed up. And you were. And that's enough. I know the world has taught you otherwise. I know you've learned that enough is always just beyond what you've actually done. That there's always more you could have been, should have been, might have been if only you'd tried harder. But that's not true. That's just the story that keeps you running. The story that keeps you exhausted. The story that makes rest feel like something you have to earn. Rest is not a reward for perfect productivity. Rest is a biological need. Like water, like food, like air. You don't earn the right to breathe by accomplishing enough during the day. You breathe because you're alive and your body needs oxygen. And you rest because you're alive and your body needs rest. It's that simple. It's that unconditional. So whatever tomorrow brings, whatever you didn't finish today, whatever challenges are waiting, whatever you're worried about having to face, none of that determines whether you've earned tonight's rest. You've earned it by being alive, by making it through today, by still being here. And if you're worried about tomorrow, if you're lying there thinking about all the things you have to do, all the ways you might not be enough for what's coming, I want to gently redirect you back to now. Tomorrow doesn't exist yet. Tomorrow's challenges are tomorrow's concern. Tonight, you only have one job: rest. Not rest perfectly, not sleep 8 hours, not achieve some ideal state of relaxation. Just rest. In whatever way your body can, in whatever way presents itself, in whatever imperfect form it arrives. You've done enough to deserve that. You've always done enough to deserve that. And if a part of you still doesn't believe me, if there's still a voice saying you haven't done enough, you don't deserve rest yet, you should try harder, I want you to hear this. That voice is not the truth. It's just the story you've been told so many times you believe it. But stories can be questioned. And this one has held you hostage long enough. Tonight, you're free. Free from the requirements. Free from the measuring. Free from the endless assessment of whether you've done enough. You have. You have done enough. You are enough. And you're allowed to rest. Something has shifted, I think. Something gentler is in the room. There are things happening in you right now that no one fully understands. Not me, not your doctor, not the most sophisticated neuroscientists working today. The precise mechanisms of consciousness, of sleep, of the way experience transforms into memory, of the strange bridge between waking and dreaming, these remain among the great mysteries of science. Your brain, right now, is doing something no computer can replicate. Your body is performing processes of extraordinary complexity and elegance. Your mind, even in its restless state, is exhibiting the full bewildering capacity of human consciousness. You are mysterious, not metaphorically, literally. The thing that you are is not fully understood by anyone. And yet you rest, you sleep, you dream, you wake, you continue. All without needing to understand how. There is something deeply restful in recognizing this. Not knowing everything about yourself, not being a solved problem, not being a project completed. This is what allows you to be surprised, to change, to grow. To wake tomorrow as someone who has been quietly, invisibly changed by the night. Let me share with you some of what happens while you sleep, not to create pressure around it, but because I find it genuinely beautiful, and because understanding what sleep does might make it easier to trust it with yourself. While you sleep, your brain washes itself, literally. A system called the glymphatic system becomes active. Cerebrospinal fluid flows through the brain, clearing metabolic waste products that have accumulated during the day's thinking, including the proteins associated with Alzheimer's disease. Your sleeping brain is a janitor, a sculptor, a memory keeper. It consolidates what you learn today, moving memories from temporary to long-term storage. It makes unexpected connections between things you've experienced. Some of the most creative insights humans have ever had arrived from sleep, not from waking effort. Your immune system rebuilds itself. Your muscles repair. Your hormones rebalance. The architecture of your entire biological self is maintained and restored in these quiet hours. And none of it, not a single element of this extraordinary work, requires your understanding. It happens in you the way tides happen in the ocean, through a deeper order than thought. You're allowed to trust that. You're allowed to let your body do its nightly work without supervising it. You can be, tonight, like a house that closes its doors and lets the mysterious work of restoration begin. I want to move through your body now, very gently, not to fix or change anything, just to visit each place and offer it permission. Your forehead. If there's any gathering there, any residue of the day's concentration, you're allowed to let that smooth. Not forcing, just noticing it's allowed to be still. Your eyes, resting behind their lids. They've looked at so much today. Screens and faces and words and light. They can rest now in the simple dark. Your jaw, the hinge where so much of the day's stress lives, the place where words got held back and feelings got swallowed. Let it be a little heavier. Let it belong to gravity for a while. Your throat. You've spoken today, perhaps a great deal, perhaps not enough. The throat holds what we couldn't say as much as what we did say. It doesn't need to hold anything now. Your chest, the place where the breath lives, and where emotion lives too, the particular tightness of anxiety, the heaviness of sadness, the held breath of worry. None of those need to be carried through the night. Your belly, the deep center of you. Let it be soft. You don't need to hold yourself in anymore. There's no one watching tonight. You can be the full, real, unguarded shape of yourself. Your arms, your hands, all the reaching and doing and holding of the day. Let your arms be heavy now. Let your hands be open or loosely closed, however they fall naturally. Your legs, miles they may have walked, even metaphorically, all the standing and moving and going, they can sink now into whatever is beneath them. Heavy, done. Your feet, those patient travelers, you can let them rest completely now. All of you, the whole length of you, the full weight of you, the complete and weary and wonderful you, lying here, in the dark, in the quiet, doing the one thing that needs no understanding at all. Think for a moment, gently, without pressure, about the fact that you are here tonight. You chose this. Out of everything you could have done with this hour, you chose something gentle, something quiet. You reached for rest. Maybe you've been doing that your whole life, actually, in 100 small ways, reaching for rest, for quiet, for something softer than the sharp edges of the world. That impulse toward gentleness, toward rest, toward a voice in the dark that says it's okay, that impulse is trustworthy. It knows something your busy mind sometimes forgets, that you need this, that everyone needs this. Not as a luxury, as a necessity, as fundamental as water, as food, as connection with other people. The need to rest is one of the most honest things about you. And you honored it tonight. Whatever else happened today, whatever you got right or wrong, understood or missed, achieved or left undone, you honored the honest need for rest. That matters. I want you to know that matters. You're drifting now, maybe, or hovering in that gentle territory just above sleep. That place is good. That place is rest. You don't need to fall further than that if this is where you land. And if you do drift further, if the words become less distinct, if meaning loosens its grip on the sounds, if you find yourself somewhere that isn't quite here and isn't quite anywhere, that's the path. Not knowing where you are, not following the thread, not understanding what's happening. That's sleep. That's rest. That's the thing you came here for. And so we arrive, If arrive is even the right word, somewhere quieter. If these gentle journeys are meaningful to you, I invite you to like, subscribe, or share a reflection below. It helps other restless minds find their way here. But for now, just rest. I want to speak to you very personally now. You came to this night carrying things. You always do. Every night, you carry them. The unfinished conversations, the things that didn't go the way you hoped, the slow accumulation of a day lived in a world that asks a great deal. And somewhere in all of that, there's a version of you that wonders whether you're enough, whether you've done enough, understood enough, been enough. That quiet, persistent question that follows you even here. I want to speak directly to that part of you and say, you don't have to answer that question tonight. You don't have to solve it or silence it or understand where it came from. You can just let it be there, that question, like a lamp left on in another room. It doesn't need your attention right now. What you can let in, what's actually available to you right now, is simpler than all of that. The warmth of where you lie, the quiet of this hour, the knowledge that you are here, you are safe, and the night is doing what nights do. That's enough. You're enough. Not because you've proven it, because you simply are. There's something I find genuinely moving about people lying in the dark, listening to a voice, hoping for rest. It's such an honest thing to do, such a real admission. I need help tonight. I need something to hold me while I fall asleep. I need to not be alone with my thoughts. There's no performance in that. No pretense. In the dark, with eyes closed, reaching for sleep, that's you at your most real. Your most human. And I want to honor that. The realness of you, right now. Not the version of you that shows up for other people or performs in the world. This one. The one in the dark. The one who's tired. The one who's trying, even in rest, and is slowly learning that rest doesn't need trying. This ordinary night, unremarkable by most measures, just a night like other nights, is a gift you've given yourself. Time, stillness, permission. These are not small things. In a world that constantly asks you to produce and perform and understand and achieve, choosing to stop, choosing to lie down and say, I don't need to understand anything tonight, that is a quiet act of wisdom. Notice, if there's anything to notice, whether your thoughts have a different quality now than they did an hour ago. They may still be there. They may still be turning things over, making their small anxious circuits, but perhaps they're a little less urgent, a little less convinced that they're solving something important. Perhaps they've accepted, on some level, that tonight is not the night for solutions, that the problem will still be there tomorrow, and so will they, and nothing is required of them right now. The mind, when it finally accepts that understanding is optional, often does something beautiful. It doesn't go silent. It goes soft. The sharp edges of thoughts become vague. The hard outlines of worries become blurred. Things start to feel less definite. This softening is not confusion. It's not failure. It is precisely the transition that precedes sleep, the gradual loosening of the mind's grip on the world, on the day, on itself. You can let it happen. You don't need to understand it. Just notice how it feels, if it feels like anything, and let yourself drift wherever this loosening takes you. As we move toward the end of our time together, I want to tell you something that I hope you can feel as much as hear. I'm staying with you. I know I'm just a voice. I know we're not in the same room. I know you're alone there, in your bed, in the dark, with only the sounds of your own house around you. But in another way, in a way that matters, you're not alone right now. My words are with you. My intention is with you. The care that went into creating this, the hope that it might help someone who needed it, that's with you too. And I'm not leaving. I'm not going to stop talking and abandon you in the dark. I'm going to be here, for as long as you need, accompanying you into sleep or rest or whatever gentle place you're moving toward. I know what it's like to not want to be alone at night. I know the particular fear that comes when everyone else is asleep and you're still awake with your thoughts. I know what it's like to reach for something, a video, a podcast, a voice, just to not feel so alone, just to have something human nearby, just to be reminded that other people exist and care and understand. That's not weakness. That's not something to be ashamed of. That's being human. We're social creatures. We're not designed to be alone, especially in our most vulnerable moments. And this is a vulnerable moment, isn't it? Lying in the dark, tired, hoping for rest, all your defenses down, all your usual distractions unavailable. Just you and your thoughts and the quiet and the not knowing of whether sleep will come. It's okay to need company for that. It's okay to need a voice telling you it's going to be all right. It's okay to need to feel less alone. So I'm staying, not leaving, not abandoning you to the silence. Even when my words become quieter, even when the pauses grow longer, even when you drift away from being able to follow what I'm saying, the care is still here. The presence is still here. And even when this audio ends, even when you're fully in the silence of your own night, the fact that someone made this for you, that someone thought about the person who would need it, that someone hoped it would help, that doesn't go away. You're held by that, by the invisible thread that connects all of us who have trouble sleeping, all of us who are awake right now, all of us who know what it is to be tired and restless and hoping for rest. You belong to that community, even if you never meet us, even if you feel completely alone. You belong. And I see you. I really do. Not because I know the details of your life, I don't, but because I know what it is to be human, to be tired, to be lying in the dark hoping someone cares that you're struggling. Someone does care. I care. Everyone who has ever needed this kind of gentle voice in the night cares. We're all connected by this shared experience of being tired humans who need rest. So you're not alone. Not really. Not in the way that matters. I'm here with you now, and when my voice fades, the care remains, like a blanket someone else tucked around you, like a hand that held yours in the dark. You're accompanied, you're witnessed, you're held. And you can rest now, knowing that. You can let yourself drift, knowing someone was here with you. Someone stayed. I'm not going anywhere. Even as you drift away, I'm still here, still with you. Still holding this space for your rest. You're safe. You're seen. You're not alone. Rest now. I've got you. Your body has been patiently waiting for this. All day it held you up, moved you through the world, breathed and digested and circulated and regulated all the invisible labor of being alive. And now, in the dark, It can be something simpler. Just weight, just warmth, just the particular shape of a person lying down. Let yourself feel heavy now, real heavy, the good heaviness of a body that doesn't have to do anything more tonight. The heaviness that says, we did enough. We can stop now. Your legs are heavy. Your arms are heavy. Your chest is soft and slow. Your face, that brave, expressive face that met the world today, is allowed to be completely private now. No expression required. No one to read it. Just the still face of a person at rest. You're sinking a little, maybe, into the bed, into the dark, into the long, slow tide of sleep. You don't need to understand where you're going. The last thing I want to say to you, or the last thing I intend to say, though I'll be here long after, is this. You came here tonight not knowing if it would help. Not sure if you'd be able to rest, carrying all the uncertainty that comes with a tired mind in a complicated world. And you stayed, even through the parts where it wasn't clear, even when the mind kept trying to analyze and follow and track. You stayed. That staying, that gentle, imperfect, honest staying, is enough. It's more than enough. It's everything this night asked of you. You don't need to have understood anything tonight to have rested. You don't need to have followed every word. You don't need to remember any of this in the morning. You just needed to be here. And you were. And you are. The night will carry you from here. You can stop navigating. Just rest now. Just this. Just you, in the dark, in the quiet, needing to understand nothing at all. I'll see you soon. May your rest be deep. And your dreams be gentle.